dates and times. Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lecture we'll continue our discussion on dates and times. Let's continue to generate a series of times. In the last lecture we looked at the date range function. We can use this date range function to generate series of times, and this date range function takes a few attributes. For instance, it takes the attribute start. We can set it to be equal to a certain date. For instance, 2016 December 19th 4:35 will be the time, and let's pass the end attribute, and let's pass 2016 December 27th, let's say 5:45, and then we can specify the frequency to be, let's say, 34 hours. So 34 hours. If we run this, we get a series of times with frequency of 34 hours, starting from December 19th, 2016, 4:35, up to the end of our specified time. So this is based on frequency of 34 hours. Another attribute that we can pass for our date range function is called the time zone attribute. So we can pass different time zones. Let's see an example. So pd.date range, and let's pass. So this time I won't say start, I'll just pass a single date, say 2016 December 17th, and then let's say 4:30, and let's pass the periods attribute, let's say 5, and then for time zone we say TZ. TZ means time zone, and one time zone is known as Asia Hong Kong, so let's pass that time zone Asia Hong Kong and run it. So here we have a time zone of Asia Hong Kong. So frequency, we have days. So for our time zone we have 2016 12/17, starts from December 17th at 4:30, and then we have periods as 5, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 series of times. And here it says, since we have our time zone as Asia Hong Kong, we have +8. We can also go backwards for creating a series of times. So here we passed our start date. Instead of that, we can pass an end date and then number of periods, so that we can go backwards. Let me show you what I mean. So we have pd.date range, and then instead of using the start time, we'll pass an end time, and let's use 2016 December 28th, and then let's start at 4:45, and for number of periods, let's say 10, and for our time zone, let's use the same Asia Hong Kong time zone and run it. So here it created a series of times ending at December 28th, 2016 at 4:45 as we specified here, and then we passed a period of 10. So it goes back to December 27th, and then -1, all the way to December 19th, 2016. And here frequency is days, and as you see here you have the time zone. plus 8 hours. Okay, so we can use the int parameter also to create a series of times. So we have seen how to create series of times by using or passing a start date only, or int date only, or by using a combination of start and int. Okay, next let's look at a parameter known as normalize, and we'll see what normalize will do. So pd dot date range, let's pass a start time of 2016 December 11th, and for periods let's pass 10, and let's also pass a frequency attribute, and for our frequency let's pass 1 day, for instance. Let's run this and see what we get. So this is a normal date range function starting December 11th, and we have a frequency of 1 day, and it's at December 20th, and we have 10 for periods. What if I change this to December 11th 2016 at 2:22, and we have periods? Let's run this again. So now our time starts at 2:22 on December 11th, and we have 2:22 in each of our series of times. Now let's take the same example and pass the normalize attribute. So here let's pass normalize and set it to be true. What do you think will happen now? Let me run it and show you. Now you will notice that the time part is missing from our date, right? So here we have December 11th 2016. We don't have 2:22 anymore. So that's what the normalize attribute does. It starts and ends the day at midnight. So if we put any time, hour or minutes or seconds, it will remove the time section from our start or end time. Okay, so it starts and ends the day at midnight. That's what the normalize attribute does. Let's look at one more example. So we can change this to int, and let's first remove the normalize attribute and run it. Let me change the time to, let's say, 3:14:25 seconds. So hour, minute, and seconds. Let's change the period to 8. Frequency still 1 day. Run it. So without the normalize attribute, our time series starts from January 4th 2016 at 3:14:25 seconds, and it ends at the specified date, right? 3:14:25 25th. Ends at 3:14, and we have frequency as days, 1 day. And if we pass the normalize attribute and set it to be equal to true, it will remove the time information from our end date and our series of times in general. So instead of 3:14:25, we'll just get the same result without this timestamp. So the timestamp won't be there. Okay, great. Next, let's see the different kinds of date formats that we can use for our date range function. So far we have seen a date format that looks like this. We have the year, month, day, and then the time. Let's say 3:14, 22 seconds. So this is one format that we have seen so far. Let's see some other formats that we can use. pd.dateRange, and then let's pass another format is, let's say, December 9th, 2016. We can use that. And then let's say periods is equal to 5. If we run this, we get series of times starting from December 9th, 2016 and ending at December 13th, since we passed periods of 5. And you can still pass hours, minutes, and seconds. So you can say 3:23:55. It will just add the timestamp to your date object. What are some other formats for our date? We can use only numbers. So we can say 12/15/2016. And let's pass period, say is equal to 6, run it. So we have our series of times starting from December 15th and ending at December 20th. Frequency is days. Okay, and you can try out some other formats. What if you change the month and date? For instance 04/05/2016 versus 05/04/2016. So one is the American standard and the other is the European standard. You can also try out some other formats. For instance 2016 12/5 versus 2016 12/5. So try out these different kinds of formats and see which ones are valid formats. Great. In the next lecture, we'll continue our discussion